made it to see this. We were able to work with Imagine Conway on the Markham Street revitalization for that area to boost it up and bring it back to life. So the community partner was Imagine Conway, and we had the pleasure of working with Mr. Scott Grummer. It was a great experience. He helped us with a lot of things, and we were able to dig down into what some of the problems were for that Markham Street project.
My name is Brittany, and I was more of the social media PR person, so I came up with a lot of tactics to get information out on social media.
I'm Anna Shields. I kind of brought some visual design thinking to the table.
And I'm Jeremy Fisher, and I was the innovator.
Yeah.
But we all pretty much worked together throughout this whole process as a team and used each other's skills to help build all of us up. And our team name is The Graduates, because we are graduating Markham Street to the next level.
Yeah. We're also all about the graduates.
Yeah.
Okay, so the problem. Basically, Imagine Conway is basically this big project to revitalize different parts around Conway. And part of that is specific to Markham Street, which right now is pretty empty, and there's not a lot there if you've been there. And so a big part of us getting to know what was going on for this problem was actually visiting the area and seeing what was going on. And it's pretty empty right now, but there's a lot of really exciting things happening and a lot of designs that are going into just bringing that area back to life.
And also, one of the main things that Imagine Conway wants is to create that thriving neighborhood, but they also want to ensure that cultural heritage of that area and that downtown part is not going to be lost throughout this makeup of revitalizing that area. So, the process.
The first thing we did was we took a site visit. So Scott took us on a field trip to actually get to see the area, and while we were in the car, we were able to ask him a lot of questions, and I think it was beneficial for all of us to actually see what we were working with, because I had never actually seen Markham Street, even though I've been in Conway for 4 years. So to be able to see it, we got to learn about different history things. We got to see the type of people who live there. So it was definitely changing, being able to see that.
And so a big part of the beginning parts of our process was identifying what the main problem was. What was the main issue that we needed to be looking at, and what could we actually help Imagine Conway do to revitalize this area? Because we're not exactly, we're not city planners or architects, so we can't help in those ways, but we were trying, basically our main goal was to figure out what we could do to actually help.
So yeah, as we began to identify some problems, one main design thinking tactic was mind mapping. So we'd start with one of the problems and then branch off to different other problems that we could either connect or that we could push aside and work on another area of it. So then came the evaluation part, where the facilitators came in and looked at all of the work that we had done that far to see exactly what track we were on. And so after that,
yeah, they kind of helped us narrow the problems from there, because we were kind of trying to tackle everything at once. So our main goal was, or what we realized we kept coming back to problem-wise, was that communicating the vision that Imagine Conway had for Markham Street to the residents that live on Markham Street. There was not a lot of clarity in what was going on for the people who were living there, and there was this big communication gap. And so when you have that gap, it can be hard for them to understand what's going on, and obviously you'd be worried about your neighborhood and what direction it's going. So
even from there, after we had narrowed the problem, and we came up with the solution, but we talked to the facilitators again and realized we wasn't really thinking outside of the box. I'm not really sure why. We just kept having, giving ourselves limitations, and the facilitators really helped us, saying, you guys can do beyond. Like she said, we aren't architects, so it's kind of well, what can we do? Because we don't know anything about building, your plumbing, or any of this stuff, but the facilitators help like expand our thinking so that, even though we don't have the skills to physically build something, we do have other skills that can help this vision.
So then comes the challenge statement. So how might we get Conway and the residents of that Markham Street area informed and involved with the upcoming changes in that community? So that became our main focus as we began to discover more about what the problem really was.
And part of that was originally we were thinking that we either needed to help communicate the vision for Markham Street to the residents, or we needed to help get the residents involved in the project. And for a long time, those were two kind of separate things, and we decided, okay, let's work on the communication issue. And so we worked on that for a while, and we just kind of got stuck. We didn't have a lot of ideas of how we could do that, in an innovative and new, exciting way. So when we were coming up with the challenge statement, we realized that we could combine the two things and maybe try to solve both problems at once.
So that became the solution.
Which was to throw a parade. While we were brainstorming ways to, like I said, bridge that communication gap. So we were thinking, how can we get social media involved? How can we get this message out to people? And what can we advertise that's going on to get that message across? And we were thinking like, oh, parades, events, here's things we could post in preparation. And then we kind of thought, why don't we actually do the parade? Like, why don't we make that our goal and involve the community as we're trying to communicate what would be going on?
And Scott already had like an idea to have a festival. So like the parade just like went off the idea because we decided we had a parade, we can have it like early that morning, like maybe like 10 o'clock. And then it can go over to the festival, and the festival can be called Markham Mania, and there'll be like tons of events, things that are going to, give people information to like know what Madison Conway is, what we're trying to do, but also get the community involved. Like, it's on their street, they're going to come out. Like our talent show, people on the street might have great talent and want to come display. We had an idea to have like take pictures specifically for social media so that they can use hashtag Markhamania. We even had it written on the cake so that so maybe people who don't even come to the event, like maybe people can't come, they can get on Instagram or Twitter and can still see like the events that took place, or actually see the residents who live there. So it won't feel like, oh, a company is just coming in trying to take over. It's more like still a sense of community and heritage there.
Yeah, and another good benefit that we thought a parade would provide is bringing the whole Conway community to Markham Street. Not just providing, something for the residents there to get involved with what's happening, but also bring other community members into that area to show that it is changing and there's stuff going on. And there's very attractive things about living in that area and moving downtown, which was something that Scott talked about a lot, was another thing he was looking to do. And so we thought this would be, a great way to kind of bridge that gap and kind of symbolize that moving forward and connecting the community. So, like all the streets around Conway, there's lots of projects going on, and they're all connected and impacted by Markham Street and by everything really. And so we just thought having the whole community come out and take that walk from downtown, from Markham Street all the way to downtown, and give people an idea of what was going on would be a good thing.
And also, I feel like, it would like introduce people to the area of Markham Street. Like I said, I never had been to Markham Street until I got the opportunity to work on this project. So maybe people who've never been to that area can see it and, also get involved with that community.
Yep. Oh yeah, so we kind of started to think about branding the event, and we had some really grand plans for it. We just started to brainstorm. These aren't like fully realized. Just ideas of handouts that we could have during the parade to give to people to educate them about what's actually going on and give them a visual aid of what their area is going to look like. And so these are a few examples of things we might, post on Facebook just to get the word out there.
So that wraps up our presentation for Imagine Conway, and we hope that this could be implemented down the road, whether it comes in the summer or the fall. And so it could definitely just bring more life back to that area that really needs it in the future. Thank you.
Can we ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a profile of who lives on Markham Street? How many businesses, individuals, families?
We looked at it a bit in the process of researching. We don't particularly know it right now, but it was something that we talked about, and that these plans were actually made, like the residents there were made aware of these plans. So they've been trying to communicate these ideas.
I think it has to be commercial. I think there are some families on it, but I think it's heavily commercial versus residential.
Yeah, I think there's some owners that rent out the homes there.
Because I was saying, if you had a clear understanding of the demographics of who were on that street, it might help you understand the parade dynamics.
And that was something we thought about, was kind of trying to figure out who that audience would be. Who's interested in Markham? There's businesses, there's developers, there's residents, and all of these different areas. And kind of in our processing, we found that we were kind of getting stuck on that, was trying to please all of these different audiences.
Sure.
And so the reason that we went with the parade idea was we wanted to focus in on the residents and the people of the area, and what the life that it actually, the lives of people who actually live there. And so that's, I think that was kind of our reason for focusing on the parade, something that's more community
Did you
involved.
figure out who paid for the parade?
There's a budget for like marketing type things already allocated, for Imagine Conway. So some of that I would assume would go to this.
So did you all talk specifically about how you would get residents involved?
We did. We talked about having a talent show so that the residents there could like sign up. I know we have talent shows here at UCA, but not everybody goes to UCA. So, and then we talked about tow suck. The tow suck is mostly like paid artists, not necessarily people in the community. So we decided if we had a talent show, people who might be talented in that area could do it.
But when we're so meeting, like reaching out to them, like are you going to go knock on their doors or attend their?
Well, there's kind of a system in place already for how they communicate. Is like, through churches and just a lot of, knocking on doors. business owners who are involved in the area and active in that. And there's a few of those avenues that are already in place, but we kind of wanted to make an event that was more accessible to the general public if they weren't connected through those avenues that already existed. So we thought this would be a fun way of making it more casual, so that like you see the posters and that's all you really need, you know, like, okay, I'm ready to go, I know where to go, and you can just go and kind of get the information because it would be publicized and everything.
So do you see the parade being a one-time event or something that you would replicate or?
I was thinking it would be something to like replicate, like have every year. I was thinking something that maybe the residents would be proud of, like, you know, like always have.
And that was part of the reason of doing it in this area, so that that history of it could be a part of the parade, and so that every year, you know, community members could be reminded of what it has to offer. And also, as the developments are happening, you know, the area's going to be changing a lot, and that could be a really fun thing to see year to year, having the same event in this place that's changing so rapidly.
I'll make a comment. On a larger scale, the Little Rock Tech Park had to do some areas in 2 or 3 different areas, and there's a great sense of being a victim if the particular community doesn't know what's going on or hears about it through the media. So I do think, I like the idea of the parade, it's kind of novel, but I do think the lack of communication to these people who are going to have their property value change and so on is a great sense of being a victim. So I think that has to be factored into your thought process.
And that was like our main goal, was that's why we wanted to bridge that gap, because if people don't know what's going on and the area is changing around them, you know, that's a very terrifying kind of thing. So to have them actually engage in what's going on and participate in the changes that are going on, so that they can have a voice in the direction that their community is going. That was our goal, was to bridge that gap and get them involved.
Yeah, we definitely plan to have an information booth for Imagine Conway, so that they can, I guess, pass out brochures and different things that explain what they're trying to do.
Any other questions?
We have created a mess.
A little bit. We'll get
At the
it.
end of the day.
We have 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, so thank you guys so much.